Hello, I'm West of Avlea Folk Embroidery, and welcome to the March FlossTube. Oh, it feels like I just did the February one. So, here we are to talk about folk embroidery, and I have some really fun stuff to share with you today. Most of what I have to share with you today is stuff that's in process. So this will hopefully be fun. If you're new here, I'm West. I'm the owner and designer of Avlea Folk Embroidery, and you can see all of my stuff at the Avlea website, which is in the notes. It's avleafolkembroidery.com. And you can find me on Instagram, also in the notes here. I'm getting better about Pinterest, so happy to report. So I'm definitely doing my little pins now, and that's been really fun. And you can follow me on Facebook and all the things. So let's dive in. It has been, wow, a very, very busy few weeks for me. The last few weeks, actually for the last almost 2 months, I've been working on updating the how-to videos and adding more blog content to the website. And so that's kind of an ongoing process. I have set myself the goal of having most of that done like by fall. So pretty much every month I keep trying to do a new blog or do a new video or something like that. So I just updated the how to turn your embroidery into a cushion cover how-to video and the how to turn your embroidery into a wall hanging video. Next up will be the new fringe finish. I learned this technique in Greece when I was in Greece last September, and I'm really excited to share it with you because it's a very cool finish. And I will just tell all of you that have felt a little challenged by the drawn thread hem finish, it's way easier. It's not the easy fringe finish. My March release was the Luminita. I had 2 releases in March, and I'll talk about each of them. Ta-da! Luminita is on the 25 count even weave in the color Aegean Sky. It's actually inspired by a Romanian design. I saw this design in I have an old batch of old Romanian embroidery patterns that are really like crumbly paper that are probably falling apart. And I saw like this little star in it, and I thought, oh, how cool would that be for a basket cloth? And I've been surprised like how popular the basket cloths are. But then I was like, who doesn't want to have their bread look pretty? I mean, why not? So this year I wanted to have at least one more. And who knows, maybe by the fall I'll come up with another one. Who knows? Because this finish is so easy. Basically, all you do is you're just stitching a row of stitches all the way around the edge of your embroidery, and then you're just removing threads. I mean, it's really, really easy. And when I tested this piece, I even discovered that it washes great. I actually fringed a little piece, threw it in the washing machine, and it came out looking great. Like, I thought the fringe would get all kind of crumply and weird, and it didn't at all. So I was really happy about that. So the fringe finish is fantastic. If you don't want to go to the trouble of working a drawn thread hem, or you're a little intimidated, or maybe you're a beginner, you're just not quite there yet, that is 100% okay. Try the fringe finish, because I actually think I think I could probably teach this to little kids. It's really fun. In fact, I was thinking, oh, this would be really fun for a little kid kit. Anyways, so this design is actually it'd be the second design that I've worked on a colored background. And I have been having a lot of fun playing around with this beautiful blue even weave. This fabric is 100% cotton, and it's made in Europe in a mill. And these even weave fabrics are really big in folk embroidery. In Greek folk embroidery, we have the Mycenae fabric that's really popular in Greece. And all throughout Europe, people embroidered on this. I was doing some research into Aida cloth. And it looks like Aida cloth wasn't invented until I think it was 1890. I may be wrong on that, but I think it was 1890 by Zweigart. So Aida cloth is actually a real newcomer to the scene of traditional cross stitch. Everybody stitched on even weave fabrics. Everyone stitched on hand woven cottons or hand woven linens or things, even weave. That's what everybody stitched on. And so I just love the look of this because the fabric itself is so pretty. You could almost just literally take a piece of this fabric, stitch around it, and fringe it, and it still would be beautiful. So I love, adding the embroidery just adds so much. And I liked this one too because I finally got to play around with ecru. And I love ecru floss. Like I have like ecru floss that I use and I love it, but it doesn't show up very well on a lot of the lighter fabrics. And so this one, it really got to shine. So that's Luminita. So I said this was the second design. The first one that I did on the blue is a little bit kit called the bit kit Asteria. Asteria means star in Greek. It's a little tiny bit kit design because I wanted to like test it out. So I've had a lot of fun working on the even weave. It's a 25 count, so it's definitely very beginner friendly. But I think the color and the really high quality of the fabric, they don't make it look like a beginner project. That's something I really appreciate about these really high quality even weaves, is they look great and they're just a little easier on your eyes if you're having trouble seeing threads. So that's Luminita. What's up next? Oh, Ionian floral. And you know, it's pretty funny. Let's see if I can find the corner. So this is Ionian floral. It's actually inspired by a historic, let me think. I always get the centuries and the years. An embroidery that was made in the 1700s, somewhere in the Ionian region, Ionian Island region. It features a border design that is has a combination of stylized flowers. I changed up the outer border I changed it to something kind of different from the original just because I really liked this. Let me see if I can do it this way. Let me show you the right side of it. And if it seems like I keep looking at my mic, oh my word. When I did the wall hanging video, here, I'll show you this. When I did the wall hanging video, I did something so stupid. I didn't check that my mic was charged, and I recorded 12, count them, 12 little video segments, finished the entire wall hanging, and then discovered that none of the sound audio had recorded. And I had to go like quickly look up on Google, how do you do voiceovers? How do you add audio? Because once I finish something, I can't go back and remake it. So, and I didn't have another piece to turn into a wall hanging. So it was a bit of an issue. So now I'm like super like, oh my gosh, is my mic on? Well, at least I learned how to do voiceovers. So that was pretty great too. But so Ionian floral. So some really fun things to point out about this design is that we have the alternating blue and red color palettes. This is really common in historic folk embroidery. In fact, this isn't identical to the historic palette, but it's very close. The original had a lot of red and green. I added in a little bit more coral and a little bit more blue just to balance out the design, because while red and green were really popular in traditional folk embroidery all throughout like the Greek islands and throughout mainland Greece, for us today, we associate those colors with Christmas. So sometimes I have to like change things up or bring in new colors just so that we kind of see a design and don't instantly think, you know, December. So this design has it's the same motif, this really cool little, it's a really neat little chain. Hopefully, okay, I want to see if I can get this close enough so you can see it. Let me see if I can fold it. That might work. I loved working the little flower stem here because it's a combination of a few little back stitches with cross stitches, and it ends up giving it this like really delicate chain effect. It's really beautiful. I'd never done anything quite like that, and I really liked it. It's definitely something I'll be using in the future because I just liked how that was done. And so the flower motif is exactly the same, but it's worked in dark blue, light blue here with touches of the terracotta and pink, and then that's reversed in the red and pink one, and it's like dark down here, light here, and then the touches of the blue. And then it has these fabulous little urns. They're so tasteful. Sometimes in like historic Greek stuff, you'll see urns, and they're very urny. They're very big, they're very bold, but I loved how little kind of delicate, if you didn't notice them at first, like you might have to look for those urns, and I really liked that. And then of course, I photographed it, and I sent out the email about it, and then somebody actually sent me a picture back and circled the one motif that I had forgotten to do the pink stitches. So here we go. There's one corner that I forgot to do the stitches. I have done that like more times than I can count. I finished a piece, I'm like, I'm done, yay, woohoo. And I know, and there's like a corner or a section where like I clearly forgot to like loop around and double check. So now I'm getting a lot better about double checking my work when I'm done to make sure I've filled in all the stitches and done all the colors. But this design could be done as a cushion. I finished it as a table square, and I had it actually, I've been displaying it like on my little coffee table with just a really pretty little pink bud vase. And there aren't like a lot of flowers are really expensive this time of year. And so what I did is I just took one of my philodendron plants here from my floss wall, and I just cut off some starts of it, and I put them in the bud vase with just with water, and it looks so pretty. So it's really simple, but really nice. I discovered on Amazon these fabulous pink glass vase sets, and they're like little bud vases. They're designed for like weddings and parties, and I've been using them in some of my photos because they're just really, really fun. And they also have them in blue and green, so I have a feeling I have those in my future too. My birthday's coming up, so I should probably mention that to my people. Bud vases, you know, who knew? Okay, so that's Ionian Floral. So Luminita and Ionian Floral released in March, and those are on the website. If you're new, I finally got the like email sign up box on the website. Took me a little while, and so that's there. If you sign up for the weekly email, that's great. I really appreciate it, and I really try to be careful about your attention. And so I always wanted to have like a really pretty, like several pretty photos of folk embroidery. And I usually just give like a paragraph on like what I'm up to that week, because there is always something going on in the workshop. So, okay, so that's Luminita and Ionian Floral. Oh, so let me give you a sneak peek of what's releasing for April. I need to get new photos of it. Let's just fingers crossed I can figure out how to get the photos done. I have photos for it. I could release it with the photos I have. They are about 85% of what I'd really like the photos to be. And that is the Chloe design. Now, many of you watched along last fall as I was stitching this in Greece. So I love that my Chloe cushion has like Athens stitched into it, because I sat on my little balcony in Athens of my little Airbnb in right. I could almost see the Parthenon. It was amazing, and I stitched on this. So I have like a little piece of Greece in this piece, which makes me feel really good. So this was the piece I took with me to Greece to stitch there while I was there for almost 3 weeks, and it is a re-release of a really old design. One of my very first. I think actually it was originally I called it Hermione Floral in Diamond. Whew, have I learned things about naming things since then. That was a very unwieldy name. And of course, Hermione, I think of it as a Greek name, and I hadn't realized it was so associated with Harry Potter. And then the original was worked as a solid fill embroidery. So more like needlepoint, where every bit of the fabric was covered. And it's beautiful. And it was worked in like garnet and gold and taupe and black. So kind of a really classic, like mid-20th century Greek color palette. And I wanted something just I wanted to lighten up the design. I wanted to kind of remove some of those stitches so that you could see the linen showing through. And then I wanted to switch up the colorway to be something a little more, just a little lighter and fresher. So this is the Chloe design, and this is the cushion. And again, I got like a new chair for it. I just don't have the lighting quite right. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you, was about the lighting. Oh, I'm telling you. So clearly, some of you out there are sending really good vibes my way, and I am so grateful, because the universe is listening. So in my new space, I've struggled with the lighting. There's so much light in Central Oregon, I'm having trouble managing it. It's kind of like I've been driving around on a little bicycle and somebody gave me a Ferrari, and I'm having trouble. Like there's too much light, or the shadows are too deep, and I just can't quite nail it. Well, a friend of mine, I was talking to her a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, these photos, I'm just struggling. Everything else is great. I'm loving my new studio. I have so much more space. I have a garage now. It's been fantastic. But I'm struggling with my photos and getting the lighting right. I just can't quite seem to get it. And she was like, oh, I know a photographer. He owes me a favor. Let me put you in touch with him. And I'm like, seriously? So a professional photographer who's like really, really, really good came to my workshop. I texted him. It was like, could you just give me a recommendation of a light I could buy? He's like, no, let me come on over to your workshop and see what you're doing. He came over and he like showed, there are buttons on my camera. I didn't even know what they did. And he's flipping it around and doing these things. I didn't even know like the monitor flipped out. It was pretty funny. I felt like a total newbie. And he's like going all over and he's like looking at stuff. And next thing I know, he's pulling out these huge lights from his truck and he's bringing them in and setting them up and showing me all these things I can do. And I was like, really? He's like, here, I'm going to just send you a list of what you need. And when I saw it, honestly, I thought professional lighting would set me back thousands of dollars. And it turns out to get what I needed is just a few $100s. It was just one of those like, whew, palm to forehead moments. And I was so grateful. And he's like, call me when it arrives. He goes, I'll come and help you set it up and teach you how to use it. And it's really actually quite simple, but it's going to help me get a lot better photos. So, because the biggest thing is, why am I so obsessed about photos? Well, you can probably figure out something about me is that when I do something, I like to do it well. And I know that like I don't do photography extremely well, but I'm trying. And secondly, I really want you to be able to see everything you need to see in the photos for the thing so that you can decide if it's the right design for you. And so that means you've got to have clarity, got to have good lighting, and the colors have to be really true. I have to be able to show you exactly, I want them to look on that screen like they, look here on the floss wall. Super important to me. And so my lighting problem got solved. So my lights are on the way. They're supposed to arrive, maybe even end of day today, maybe tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited. And okay, I just felt so silly because I bought these soft boxes on Amazon and they just weren't working. He took one look at them and was like, oh, that's cute. He was actually a little nicer than that, but I could totally tell that was the look on his face. Was like, wow. And I go and look at this, and to get the professional stand that rolls around where you need it, it was $45. Boy, did I feel dumb. So anyways, so it was great. So I guess maybe it's a lesson for all of us. Sometimes the right tool is actually not that as expensive as you think it is. You might want to actually look up what the price is. At least, note to self on that. So anyways, Chloe, we're renaming it Chloe. Chloe in Greek means little green bud. And this has these little green leaflets. And I just love that. So Chloe is coming out in April. Now, what else have I been up to? Okay. I'm going to show you some sneak peeks of some things that are in process. And then I'm going to tell you about kind of a new thing I'm working on that I am really excited about. So, sneak peek. Okay, so this is the Columbari Diamonds design. Beautiful Cretan-inspired design that is inspired by a vintage embroidery pattern. These designs are often done as running stitch, so it's hard to find older patterns where they're done in cross stitch. Eventually, I'd like to do some that are actually done in running stitch, but for this one, I was like, let's do it in cross stitch, everybody's comfort zone, and it's going to be beautiful. What's going to be cool about this one is I'm going to use this one to demo the new fringe finish that I learned in Greece. Now, it's not the same as the easy fringe finish on something like this. It's, 2 extra steps, and it's so cool. And there's a lot of room for experimentation. So basically, all you do is you hem the sides, not drawn thread hemming, no drawn thread hemming. So if that has not been your jam, rejoice. So you basically just turn under, you turn under the sides, you just hem, like a little narrow hem along the sides. And then on the end, you do the first part of you use the drawn thread wrap stitch, but no complicated ironing, no mitered corners, nothing that's difficult. You just work it across the bottom of it. And what that does is it stabilizes the fabric. If I can show you that. So you work that there, and then you start removing threads. And that part, super easy. And you can just leave them and just leave them loose. But then you can do all sorts of cool things with them if you want to get fancy. You can twist little bundles of them. You can work in little pieces of your leftover DMC. You can add little tassels. My embroidery tutor in Greece back in September showed me, we spent a whole day on this technique. And it was wow, mind blown. It was so fun to see all the different ways you can have fun with that fringe. and it's pretty foolproof. You can't really screw it up. So I'll do this with the fringe finish, but then if you're like, whoa, there's no way I'm removing threads on that size of an embroidery as my first trial run, I'm like, I hear you. I totally hear you on that. So what I did is I designed a little tiny one. It's a little tiny mat that's also inspired. It's actually inspired by this beautiful vintage embroidery. It's actually an embroidery kit that somebody gave me at a book signing. This sweet, sweet woman came up to me and was like, I took this class on Greek folk embroidery in like the 90s, and I still have this kit and it's partially finished. And she's like, you can have it to study. And I was like, really? And it was done with a slightly different stitch. It wasn't done with cross stitch, but this one is done with cross stitch because that's kind of our comfort zone. And this one, it will allow me to basically do a how-to video on it, and then there'll be like a little simple kit. But now that I think about it, you could also try out the technique on pretty much any of the bit kits. But look, oh, that, like seriously, that just came to me right now. They would be great. So any of the bit kits, you could do this little fringe finish on it. So it'll be really fun. So like if you're just intimidated by doing those mitered corners, or maybe you don't have access to a great ironing board and iron setup, and you want something that's just simpler, I think this fringe finish is going to become really popular for all of us. I think we're all going to really like it. So that's the little design. Haven't even named it yet. I got to get around to that. But this will be the small kit that goes with the columbari. Those will be releasing in May. So, because I have to get those done and photographed. And then I don't know exactly when they're going to, like, this will be a re-release. And I don't know when that's going to happen because I have to get them finished. But I am very happy to report that the many of you loved the Aegean Ornaments kit that I had in the blue, and then I also had it in the red. The issue was with this was that I did the original samples on soul wool with soul wool cobweb lace weight yarn, and it was fabulous, and it was really fun to stitch with, and it gave this kind of fun texture. And then it got discontinued. This design, I designed on the 30 count Mikanee, which is just a little bit too fine for the Appleton's wool. So we needed to totally restitch the samples on Mikanee with DMC. And I think what I'm going to do, the original Aegean Ornaments kit, I had buckram interfacing in it. And honestly, I kind of figure if I don't like working with buckram, I'm pretty certain none of you like working with it either. It is just not a lot of fun. It's sharp. It's kind of tough to work with. So I think on these, I'm probably going to turn them into like little pin cushion ornaments / ornaments. So you could turn them into like a little pin cushion, a little sachet. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Oh, we should maybe in the video I'll talk about throwing in some lavender herbs or something fun to make a little sachet, for your little sock drawer or something. And then you can also like add a loop, and we'll do them as ornaments. So those will be available soon. And just so you guys know, okay, moving forward, I am giving lots of thought in my kits to try and including everything within reason, everything you need. Because, many of you have heard about the closing of like 800 Joann stores all around the nation. And that means a lot of us, we don't have like a Joann's that we can run up to and grab this little thing or that little thing that we need. So I've been really thinking about that with my kits, and I'm trying to on these, they'll come with like the backing fabric too. Because I realized, it used to be like not a big deal. I'll run up and buy, a quarter of a yard of backing fabric. And I'm realizing that's actually going to get harder and harder. And I don't want to set you up for frustration. Like you've just finished your beautiful ornaments, you're ready to finish them, and then now you've got to spend, $10 in shipping to go buy a $3 or $4 piece of fabric. This is craziness. So what I'm trying to do is coordinate fabrics with them, because I have fabric here. I have like lots of fabric in the workshop. So I'm going to try and do that as much as possible. So like what you might just have to add is like some batting fabric. So, I am giving a lot of thought to that, just so you know. I'm trying to kind of get out in front of that so that I'm not creating frustration with my kits, because that would be like the last thing I'd want to do. So the Aegean ornaments will be coming out. Do I know when? No, because it really depends on when I get them finished. Soon. I just don't want to promise a time and then not be able to meet that that deadline. So, oh, and why am I like not promising times? Because kind of the big thing on my plate right now is getting ready for the H&H America show in May. I didn't go last year, but I did the year before and the year before that, and I was an exhibitor. And that is a really interesting show. It's a huge craft industry show. It's wholesale only. So what that means is it's like lots and lots of shop owners who own little knitting stores or fabric stores or quilting stores, and they're looking for interesting kits and things like that. They are there to find things for their shop. I don't do a huge amount of wholesale. I would say I work with about right now, let me think, about 200 shops in the US. And the one in Norway, Lana Botanica. We just have to give them a shout out. Lana Botanica in Norway is now selling Avlea kits, which was just like, woo, so exciting. But wholesale can be really helpful because it can oftentimes like, why is wholesale? I mean, I love everyone being at the Avlea website. And if I could do anything, obviously everybody would just go to the Avlea website. But there is this thing where, like, for example, okay, so let's take the Aegean ornaments kits. So for the Aegean ornaments kits, I will, if I buy fabric for the lining, for the backside of it, which I want to include in the kit, I have to buy that wholesale, and that's usually at least a 15 to 20 yard minimum, which when you consider you only need a piece that's like 10 inches by 10 inches, that's like hundreds and hundreds of kits worth of lining fabric. And so to help offset that cost, like I work with wholesale shops, and so shops that purchase wholesale. And also too, I also do wholesale with, this always cracks me up, but Greek festivals. Greek festivals will come to me and they'll place like a wholesale order for like their annual festival, that sort of a thing. And that, so really, it's not like I want to just go all wholesale. I really don't, because I would really, and some companies do, that's like what they want to do. For me, I would totally miss the interaction of all of my wonderful Avlea stitchers. That's a huge part of why I love doing this work so much, is interacting with you, hearing from you, seeing your photos, all of that. That's huge for me. It's a big part of why I love this work so much. But shops, because they buy in bigger quantities, it kind of helps all of us. So it's really a win-win. So this year I decided to go to H&H, but to build the booth is a real challenge because I have to basically have a display set up in just a couple of hours. I have to have it fit in a suitcase. And I mean, I can ship things ahead. I usually ship like one big box ahead, but it's a 10 by 10 booth. But here's the trick. I have to have the entire booth broken down in 2 hours. We have 2 hours on the last day to break down the booth. And so you can imagine like unpinning all the embroideries, undoing the display. So it's got to be like, it's almost like a Lego set. So like I set it up in my garage and I pin things in place and I take photos and all the things so that I know exactly what I'm doing once I get there. But it's a really fun thing too for me creatively to be in that environment and just see it's kind of like a huge view of everything that's going on in the craft industry. And that is really inspiring. It makes me think of new things. It makes me think of, oh, would my Avlea stitchers like this, or would they like this thing? And so it's great. I get ideas for color palettes, and just being in that highly creative environment is just wonderful. It's really inspiring. So, one of the things I've heard from so let's see, I have a couple of things in the works specifically for that show, but they're going to get released at the Avlea website first, but they're going to be also for the show. And the first one up that I'm pretty excited about is the floss fobs. We actually just mocked this up this morning. The floss fobs are going to get new packaging, and every floss fob is now going to come with floss organizers. I realized that probably wasn't really smart when I first released them. Like I released them and then you had to buy the floss organizers separately, and I'm like, no, they all need to come together as a set. So that is going to get all put together. We're just in the process. We're just printing up the cards. I just signed off on these this morning. They're going to the printer. And then we're going to basically display them I was so pleased with my little bit of twine. I had this little bit of like, no, it's not twine, it's twill tape. And I was like, oh, that'd be perfect for just tying them to the little card. So we're going to do this. And I think that's going to be really fun. If you haven't gotten a floss fob, it's like just a fancy, it's actually really just a fancy keychain that has a barrel clasp on it that you untwist, and you can like load up with your floss drops or your floss organizers or your thread organizers or whatever you call these little oval-y things that you put. And then we redid our floss organizers so that on the back you can write the floss, the color, and you kind of have a record. And these, you know, it kind of amazes me how well the paper organizers hold up. They're on heavy stock. I mean, I go probably 6 months at least on a set of these, and that's with daily, like 3 hours of stitching. So they're really a lot more durable than you'd think. So anyways, so the floss fob is going to be all like pretty and packaged. I'm pretty excited about that. But the thing I'm most excited about, and I originally got the idea of doing this for the H&H show, and then I was like, wait, this is so perfect for the Avlea website. So what I'm doing, okay, so backstory, because this is kind of a fun one. So a while ago, my husband actually saw, I know what it was. He thought it was hilarious. I was trying to remember what was the whole thing that got this started. He went somewhere and saw a little tiny cross-stitch kit of The Office. Now, I love The Office. It cracks me up, you know, Dunder Mifflin. And he got this for me because he thought it was so funny. And he brings it back to me. And I'm like, this is hilarious. It's like this little tiny itty bitty like 2-inch cross-stitch kit. And it's like, I think it's like the stapler in Jell-O or something from that episode. And I was like, this is hilarious. And a couple weeks later, he was like, you know, I'm just wondering, like, why don't you do like cross-stitch kits in hoops? He goes, I'm noticing them like everywhere. He goes, are you like, get this. Okay, we all have to have a moment for my husband. He was like, are you ideologically opposed to cross-stitch and hoops? I just started cracking up. I'm like, no, I'm not opposed to cross-stitch and hoops, but I just loved that somebody could be ideologically opposed to that, but I'm not. And I was just like, no, it's just, it hadn't occurred to me because so much of how embroidery is used in Greece and in the Mediterranean and in the countries that make folk embroidery is something that you put on a table or a pillow or a cushion or a wall hanging. It's all done like that. It's never like you don't really see things in hoops. But then at Christmas time, my embroidery tutor sent me this beautiful embroidery in a hoop. And it was so beautiful, so classy and like elegant. And she put this like really cute little tassel on it and charm. You know what? I'm going to grab it. Hang on. It's right here. Okay, we all have to have a moment for how classy this is. So classy. So she sent me this at Christmas time with a traditional like folk design, and it was so beautifully finished. And I immediately hung it on my wall with some of my other little trinkets I brought back from Greece. And I just started looking at it and go, I love that on my wall. I just love it. And then my husband got me the little office kit, and then he asked me about all of this, and it all kind of came together. And I was like, oh, why don't I do some little cross-stitch hoop kits? Because one of the things that's really important to me is I want folk embroidery to be accessible to everybody. I want anybody that wants to at least give it a twirl to have the option of doing that and to not have it be intimidating. So what I started doing is I have been adapting some of the really popular larger designs into these little hoop kits. And I think they're going to be a lot of fun. So, you know, it's the sort of thing where it's like, okay, maybe you have a busy job. Maybe you don't have the time to stitch like the full Clara's Garden design that's got 20,000 stitches in it. Well, you can get a little piece of that and you can make this as like a little gift. I still haven't figured out how exactly I'm going to do the backing. There's so many options. And then there's your little like hoop, your little hoop. So I've been adapting a bunch of them because I think they would be fantastic for a lot of different purposes. I think for beginners, they would give people an opportunity to try out an even weave fabric and see if they like it. It's a great beginner project, but also kind of fun. I was already thinking, oh, I think I'll make these for my granddaughters, you know, and just send them there and they can just hang them on their bedroom wall or something. So I've got the Clara's Garden I'm adapting a bunch of the older designs. Vlakernai Peacocks is one I'm working on right now. I've got that one in my hoop right now. And then, what was the other one? Oh, the old Pelopoli kit that was like super popular when it came out a few years ago. I'm adapting that into a little hoop. And then I'm also doing one that I haven't really like named yet, but this is a really cool design that I just got when I was in Greece on this last trip. And I thought this was really cool. Very beginner friendly. And this one I'm going to actually do in 3 different colorways. It's going to be in the Celadon colorway. Then I'm going to do it in a terracotta colorway. And then I'm going to do it in a colorway we're calling indigo. That'll be like blues on white because so many of you love the blue and white. Well, actually, I love the blue and white too. It's so cool. So basically for beginners, for when you need a quick stitch, when you want to give a little gift, that sort of a thing, but sort of like an introduction to folk embroidery. So anyways, that's what I'm working on right now. And what that means is that moving forward, whenever I can, I'll be doing the release of the regular like table runner or square, all the things you guys know that I already know and love. But then when possible, if there's an element I can pull out of it, I'll also be releasing that as like a companion hoop kit. So like, for example, I'm working on a little design right now. This one's called Kalamata Courtyard. This is a really beautiful design with a ton of backstitching that I saw when I was in Kalamata. And I'm doing this actually as one of my granddaughter's Prika pieces this year, one of her like heirloom pieces that will go to her once she's an adult. And it has like a border that goes around it. But this little element in the middle is going to be perfect to put in a hoop. So this will also, so it'll come as the table runner, or actually I guess I should hold it up this way. It'll come as a table runner kit like you guys are used to, but then I'll also do a smaller hoop kit. And so I think that's going to be kind of fun to like play around with. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, what you guys think of that. I also think that it's going to draw younger stitchers. And I'm always thinking about how can we bring in younger crafters, younger stitchers, and introduce them to folk embroidery so that we can keep these designs alive, into the next generation. So, well, and here this morning I said, gosh, I have nothing to talk about in the FlossTube. Well, I guess that wasn't true. So, we should probably wrap up. We've been here a while, and I've been going on and on and on about embroidery, but so much fun stuff to share. And when I look at my table, it's all the like fun, springy colors. I feel like spring's right around the corner. So much great stitching ahead. I've got a lot of great stuff coming down the road for you. Those of you who have been asking about the really beautiful, elaborate piece that is in the new complex drawn thread hem how-to video. That is coming out in, I believe it's May or June. And it's called Celestial Grove. I had to think what the name was. I just named it. I finally named it Celestial Grove, and that'll be coming out. And that is like, wow, way over the top, super fun to stitch, great design, really historic, fabulous. So everybody's been asking and sending me messages about that. That's coming out really soon. I will not make you wait till September. I thought I was going to do that, then I was like, that's just mean, so I'm not going to do it. So that is it for this FlossTube. As usual, I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for enjoying folk embroidery with me. I love that we're on this journey together. So happy stitching and enjoy all of that spring weather.